Welcome to Chrisman Garage. We got us a 03 Toyota Sequoia. Yep, I'm underneath it. She's up in the air. We got a bad oil leak. About 90% confident it's the rear main seal. It's gonna be bad. All right, we're up underneath here. Here's the transmission. You can see, yep, see all that oil right there? Yeah, she's leaking for sure. And everything in front of that's dry, everything above that's dry, so it's hard to see it, but I'm probably 85–90% it's the rear main seal. We got to get the lines off the transmission. You can see there's a line there going in with that little sensor. There's a line right there. It's definitely oil. We tasted it. But we've got the harnesses up here. There's some harnesses we got to undo. We've got the, here's the dry shaft. It's got to come out all the way back there. Luckily, this is rear wheel drive. I do have jack stand jaw. I just got that jack under there for extra reassurance. We've got the, this side over here's got a bunch of harnesses. We got the linkage right there, and then obviously we got the bell housing bolts. And if you come right up around front, you can see one of the torque converter bolts right there. There's probably 4 torque converter bolts in it. Make sure you take them out. Common mistake by a lot of people. But just note to self, as you notice, this side of the transmission and motor block, no starter. This side of the transmission and motor block, no starter. Starter's underneath the intake. Hope I ain't never got to put a starter on this thing. Alright, we're going to start tearing it apart. Alright, this is the drive shaft. It's 14mm. We're going. Well, I said we were going to break it. Good night. That thing's tight, son. I'm going to have to put the old foot on that one. Let's see. She's tight. You got a tight one, you can stick another wrench on there, just like that. I don't know that Snap-on recommends this, but we're gonna do it anyhow. Leverage is a wonderful thing. Yep. There's 2 loose. All the bell housing bolts is 14 down here. They look like they're 17 up top. They're 12. Everything's 12, 14, and 17. Looks like. All right, here we are underneath here. The torque converter bolts. This is the looking. You know, this the back of the car down there. Front of the car. This is the front of the flywheel. The side that's facing the engine here. These are your torque converter bolts. They're 14s. I've took this one out, and now I've got to slowly turn it till I take another one out. There should be 4 of them, I'm pretty sure. Some vehicles have 3, some have 4. This one's probably got 4, I imagine. And we just got to turn it real slow. You have to do it from this little inspection cover here. Once you get all these done, you should be able to push the, this is your torque converter back here. You should be able to push it back out of the way. Then I can undo the rest of the bell housing bolts. I've already took all but 2 of the bell housing bolts out. We still have the cross member back here that's got to come out. And I've already got the drive shaft loose. We're going to drop it down. I've got all the wiring harness loose, all the linkage off of it. Yeah, we probably got another 30 minutes. This transmission is going to be out. So I'll show y'all how this works here. All right, I got a 7/8 socket ratchet. It's probably like 21mm or something crazy like that, but 7/8 fits really, really nice. And it's 6-point. It's a good socket. It's not going to slip. I'm not going to mess it up. But I've got it on the front. I'm on a bounce pulley, and as you watch right here as I turn it, see there we go. We're looking for the, there she is right there. There's the next bolt, and I'm gonna leave it right on this side, because when you go to break it loose, it's gonna, there it is right there. I'm gonna leave it on this side, because if I put it over here, when I go to break it loose, it's gonna push over here to that side anyhow. So just break it loose, and yep, once she broke loose, normally, yep, look at there. Look at there. You might be bleeding a little bit. That's not good. There you go, there's number 2. Let's go for number 3. I ain't gonna bore y'all with this. Well, fellas, I lied to you. I said 3 or 4. It was actually 6. As you can see now, see how I can spin the old torque converter back and forth. She's loose. There was 6 of these bolts like this right here, and there's 6 of them. So, yep, good job, Toyota. I mean, overkill, but that's why they last so long. So, we got all the bell housing bolts except 2. We're gonna get the cross member down. Yep, shouldn't be too bad. All right, we've had to separate the dipstick. The dipstick is 2 pieces. There was a little 12mm bolt we took out up there on the head. Pulled the top of the dipstick out. You see where I've got the blue towel stuffed in the top. Keep dirt from falling down in this part that's made onto the pan here. We've got 2 transmission lines. Got a transmission line here, transmission line right there, as I spoke about earlier. They're 17, but instead of using a regular wrench on these, if you can manage, if you've got room, always use a line wrench. Now, a line wrench is one that wraps around to prevent from stripping it. Oh yeah. There we go. Once you break it loose, then you can use a regular wrench. We'll go to this other one. There we go. We broke them loose with a line wrench. Now, get on with them. Get on with it. We're going to take this one loose, like so. And then this one up here, this one might be a flip turn. Yep, I believe it's flip turn. That's okay. Flip turn is one that you got to flip, turn, flip, turn. So, and like I said, there's a bunch of brackets. There's a bunch of brackets that are little 10mm at these lines. And I think there's 1, 2, I think there's 3 little sets of these brackets. You got to take them loose. The reason you take them loose is so you can move so the lines can move. See? So you can, once they come loose, they'll move, and once we get these done, I mean, we're in the short rows now, fellas. All right, there you have it. Really no surprises. Old Harbor Freight jack worked really good. I had to put a little block of wood under there. I ain't even put no chains on it. It just balanced right on there. Brought it right down by myself. Back here on the back, the only surprise I had was back here on the drive shaft, if you notice, it's got studs. Well, I had to take 2 of those studs out because the drive shaft wouldn't slide far enough forward to get off the studs. Well, that might be because I loosened up the transmission. The transmission had slid back 1/2 inch or so, but anyhow, they got nice little Torx heads on them, so I was able to screw 2 of those studs out, and there lays the drive shaft. I popped the drive shaft out. She bled a little bit out the back, but you see she's sitting there with no plug in it. She ain't bleeding that bad. No surprises other than that. She broke right loose and come right out. See, there's those 6 torque converter bolts I was talking about. And now, on to the rear main seal. I'm not sure if it's going to be the rear main seal or not, but she was sure wet back here, so anyhow, we'll see. We took the flywheel off, and it had this cover behind it where that's the rear main seal right here. But when I took this plate off, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that right?
10, 11.
No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. There's 2 in the bottom. So there's only 9 bolts holding this on, but up top here, up top here, right here, there's an O-ring that rides. It must be the oil valley, and if you look closely, there you go. You can see it right there. She's split in two places, top and bottom. I'm pretty sure that's she was leaking out, and you would think that would stay inside, but I seen it leaking down here. We're gonna replace all this stuff down in here. All this crystallized, broken up silicone. This might have been vulcanization cream. I don't know if it was room temperature vulcanization cream or not. But anyhow, we're gonna replace that O-ring. We're gonna replace all this. We're gonna put it back together with a new rear main seal. And I'll get back with you. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, here we go. We got everything cleaned up. This is our cross member bolts. This is the to cover up the torque converter bolts. We got these. These are the big bell housing bolts. These are the little bell housing bolts. These are the torque converter bolts. These are some miscellaneous bolts that go to like these little brackets and things that hold the lines on, and some other little gadgetry down there. These are two of the studs that I had to pull out of the dry shaft to get the dry shaft off. They're not too bad. There's two more still in the dry shaft. Then we've got all the flywheel bolts. Then right here we've got these 9 bolts, the 2 long ones and the 7 short ones. They go in this cover. The O-ring, like I said, goes up here. We've got all this cleaned up. They're on the way to get the seal. We're gonna put a new seal in here. This is a spacer that was on behind the flywheel. Then the flywheel went on. Then this piece went on. Then the bolts went through that. This flywheel was kind of sandwiched between those two devices right there, so not that bad. So there's the dip of stick right here. It's got an O-ring on it. That's the top half that comes out, and there's the old stick there too. So yep, we got her all cleaned up. I'm gonna go up under there and show you the bottom, and we're gonna start going back together with it. All right, here we are up underneath the truck. We've got the back of the crankshaft. That's where that little spacer set. It was a little bit bigger than this. The spacer set right here, then the flywheel, then that other little spacer. They bolt on. This is where the O-ring was at. See, I've got it cleaned out good. We're gonna put a new O-ring there. There's your starter, fellas. Remember I told you the starter was underneath the intake? Yep, see, there's the intake up here. You got to take that intake off to get that starter out. Yep, there's your connecting rod. Look, I touched it. What if I put my name on it? Anyhow, she's a little greasy down here, but we've cleaned it up quite a bit. We're going to put a new rear main seal in it, torque all these back like they're supposed to be, put the flywheel back up there. We got the new rear main seal here. It's a BS40679. And look at there, fellas, wouldn't you know it, Felpro's some smart people. Props to Felpro. They sent the new O-ring there with it, because they knew that thing was going to go to leaking. They knew that the person would say, hey, that's a rear main seal. Pull the whole transmission out and look up in there, and it wasn't going to be the seal. It was going to be the little O-ring there. So anyhow, we got that. I always prefer the Max Torque gray room temperature vulcanization cream, and the reason I like that so much is because it doesn't get everywhere for some reason like the other, and it looks more factory. It just, what I'm trying to say, fellas, I like gray. We got the oil filter, we got the new oil. So anyhow, we're going back together with this thing. All right, we've got all this new piece up in here. Got a new seal. We put new ultra gray. We put the new O-ring up here. We've got it all together. Now, what goes on first is this plate here. Okay? It sticks on first. I think any hole will line up. It appears that way. Yep. And I can rotate it and all the holes line up. There's 8 bolts. So anyhow, then the next thing goes up there is the flywheel. flywheel sticks up there. See, it lines up. And then got this nice little washer sets up there like that. Then I've got some, this is the blue, I think. No, take it back, it's red. It's the never come out strip out. Got a little bit on there. Make sure you always torque these to the proper torque. After you've torqued all these down, which we have, then you just double check everything, make sure all your lines are out of the way, and you can actually go back up in there with your transmission now. I just want to make a small comment here. I cut my teeth being a mechanic, putting transmissions in and out, working with Cy Nims up at Nims Garage, and Charles Perkins and Tony Gonzalez, all those guys that I worked with up there. Good guys, taught me a lot of things. But one thing they always taught me was make sure that your torque converter is all the way in before you ever put the transmission in. You know, you wiggle it, push in on it, turn it. I know this one's in all the way, but if it was out, it would poop, poop. It'd fall in about 3 times. If this torque converter's not all the way in, when you go up in there, it'll bind up on that flywheel. You'll bust the front pump in the transmission. It'll be bad. So make sure this is all the way in. Make sure it turns good. Good stuff from very smart people. So they taught me a lot over the years. So anyhow, we're gonna go back up in there with it. Well, there you have it. We got her back in. That old Harbor Freight transmission jack. Spot on. I think we got most oil leaks fixed. There was that rear seal and that O-ring. We got the transmission top back off. Of course, we didn't lose much. I might have put 1.5 quarts, 2 quarts of fluid in it. We didn't lose much at all. We changed the oil in it. We got fresh oil in it. I've done drove it down the road. She's hot, matter of fact, and she's not leaking anything. So I'm gonna give it back to my fella. He's gonna drive it some, and y'all just remember, if she's giving trouble, she's going to the bad.